All right, good morning. So today we're on chapter 6.2, which is percents, fractions, and decimals. And we're going to talk about 5 different ways that you can convert between fractions, decimals, and percents. Okay, the first one is writing decimals as percent. So you're starting with a decimal and you're going to change it to a percent. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing to do is to write your decimal as a fraction. All right, so in your book, you have, let's see if I can get this, 0.759, right? All right, so write it as a fraction. Okay, so as a fraction, they show you in the book. Okay, 759 over 1,000, because that is in the last number, 9, is in the thousandths place. Okay, and then they have you do a step. Write an equivalent fraction with 100 as the denominator, and then write it as a percent. I think that second step is unnecessary. I'm going to show you a little quick thing. All right, so if we're taking, starting with a decimal, and we're wanting to go from a decimal to a percent, okay, all you need to do is multiply by 100, and make sure I got my notes correct here. Yep, by 100, and when you do that, go ahead and use your calculator and do it right now. But what happens is the decimal point gets moved 2 places to the right. Okay? And then you have 75.9%. Okay? So that's the quicker step, the quicker way. When you want to change a decimal to a percent, you multiply your decimal by 100, but you don't even have to get your calculator out or anything, because when you multiply by 100, you're just going to be moving the decimal point over 2 places to the right. Okay? So let's give it a try. If you quick check number 1 has 0.607, and they want you to change it into a percent. So let's just move this decimal point over 2 places to the right, and it equals 60.7%. See? Much easier than and quicker than getting out a calculator and figuring it out. You're simply going to move your decimal point 2 places to the right. That's the first thing. This is on page 279. So now turn to page 270. Oops, 280, excuse me. All right, and let's see. Oops, I need to move. Oh, just move it up there. There you go. Okay. The next one is writing a percent as a decimal. So going back, basically you're going backwards. We just did a decimal to a percent. Now we're going to go from a percent to a decimal. So what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So all you're going to do is divide by 100, or move the decimal point back 2 places to the left. All right, let's look at quick check number 2. Letter A is 35%. Right? And it says to write each percent as a decimal. So we're going to, it's 35, so your decimal point is technically right there. So when we're going from a percentage to a decimal, you can get your calculator out and divide by 100, or put your decimal point behind the ones place, and then move your decimal point over 2 2 places to the left. And you're going to have 0.35. Okay, let's try the next one. The next one was 12.5%, right? So they want to find what is the decimal. Here's our decimal point. Move it 2 places to the left. So then your answer is 0.125. All right. Try the next one on your own. 7.8% equals, move the decimal point over 2 places to the left, and you should have 0.078. All right. So when we are going from a percent to a decimal, we divide and move the decimal point 2 places to the left. All right. All right, let's move up next page. The next one is writing fractions as a percent. So now you have a fraction. How do I get the fraction into a percent? So here, let's look at quick check number 3. You have 21 out of 40, right? And we need to write that as a percent. Now normally in the past when we've taken a fraction, it's already, the denominator's already been at 100. And we've said, okay, just make if it's not at a 100, make it an equivalent fraction to 100. But we're not going to do that this time because 40 can't change into 100 easily, okay, and evenly. So what we're going to do is, my camera's funky right now. Okay, all you need to do is take 21, your numerator, divided by 40, your denominator. So on your calculator, go ahead and do that. And you should have come up with 0.525. All right, now you have a decimal. And look back at your notes. How do we go from a decimal to a percent? We multiply by 100 or simply move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So we have 52.5%. And that's your answer. Not too hard, huh? All right, the next one is writing percents. I'll just draw a line here. Writing a percents as fractions. All right, so what if you already have the percentage and you want to go back and put it into a fraction? They give an example of an elephant. The elephant slept about 12.5% each day. So what fraction of each day did the elephant sleep? So you're going to, if you want to take your percentage and go to a fraction, you're going to write your percentage as a fraction with 100 underneath. So for example, let's look at quick check number 4. It says an elephant eats about 6% of its body weight in vegetation each day. So write this 6% as a fraction in simplest form. Okay, so our first step is to write this percent in a fraction. So we're going to say with 100 at the bottom as your denominator. Okay? So I can't, if I have 6, it's not 6, I mean it is 6/100ths. That's literally what it is. You have 6% is 6/100ths, right? Now I can't leave it this way because I need to simplify it. All right, they both numerator and denominator can be divided by what, 2? Yep. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 50. 3/50 cannot be reduced anymore, so it is now in its simplest form. So now we took 6% and we changed it into a fraction. That's easy, right? Just 2 steps. Write your your percentage into a fraction with 100 being at the bottom, and then simplify if needed and if possible. All right? Okay, on page 281, if you have a whole bunch of, you have decimals and fractions and percentages, and they say that you need to put them in order from least to greatest. You cannot compare them until they are all in the same form. You need to, so you're going to look at the choices that you have, the forms that you have, fractions, decimals, percentages, and see which one they pretty much all are already. Usually decimals is what you want to put them all into decimal form, and then you can put them on, order them from least to greatest. You can use a number line, or you can just look at them and see which one is the smallest and then which one is the largest and put them in order. All right, let's take a look at quick check number 5. All right, we have 3/10, 0.74, 29%, and 11 out of 25. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to evaluate my forms. And I like decimals. I like to put everything in decimals first, and then because to me it's just easier to see and compare them. All right, so let's put them all into decimal form. 3/10. Well, how would I do that? Go back to your notes. If we're going 3/10 is in a fraction, and if we want to put a fraction to a decimal, what do you do? Well, this then you don't even have to go back to your notes. It should be in you should know how to do that already. 3/10 is saying if I write it as decimal, that's that. You don't have to look at your notes. You should know that. All right, we have 0.74. That stays the same because it's already in a decimal form. What about 29%? Look at your notes. A percent to a decimal, you divide by 100, or simply move your decimal point. Remember, it's to the right of the ones family. Go 2 places to the left, and you have your decimal. Okay, how do you get a fraction into a percent or a decimal? You can divide the top number by the bottom number. Okay, go ahead and do that on your calculator. 11 divided by 25. And you should have 0.44. Okay, now you can see all of them. We have 0.3, 0.74, 0.29, and 0.44. Which one is the least? This one, right? So on your paper, you would write down it was the 29%. For your answer, you don't want to put down the decimal. We're just putting them all in decimals so we can compare them. But when you're writing your answer, which is the least? Well, the 29% is the least. Okay? What was next? You should have 0.3. What's next? Whoops, I just did what I told you not to do. Put 3/10, because that was what we changed it to from. All right, and then next would be this one. So we're going to put down 11/25. And the last one, the greatest, is 0.74, which stayed the same. Okay? All right. I want to kind of do a little bit of a recap. Let's see if I can, I don't know if this will be best. Okay. So this is what you take a moment and do yourself, okay? I want you to write these down on a piece of paper because in a few days we're going to go to the next lesson, and even in the next lesson you're going to refer back to this list. You're also going to refer back to it in all of your homework today and tomorrow. All right? So go ahead and write it down here. You can do it just as I did it, or you can take it out of your book. But now the first step is, if you're changing it from a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100, you move the decimal point 2 places to the right. That's what my little handwriting here is talking about. The next one is percent. You start with a percent and you're changing it to a decimal that equals, you're going to divide by 100. Or simply move the decimal point, the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay? If you start with a fraction and you're going to a percent, you're going to divide your numerator by your denominator. That's step 1. Step 2, you're going to multiply, or again, move your decimal point 2 places to the right. Okay. Next one, you have if you start with a percent and you're going to a fraction, here are the 2 steps. 1, you change the percent to a fraction with the denominator being 100. Okay? And then simplify it. That's step 2. All right. And then last but not least, when you're ordering information from least to greatest, here are your steps. 1, you need to evaluate the forms. Then 2, convert all of the forms to one form, which we did. We did the. Let me get in a little closer. I had you do it in a decimal form. And then you compare and put them in order. Okay? All right. I hope you got that. Okay. So, for today's homework, I want you to go to page 282 and do numbers 1 through 4, and please submit those you don't have to attach them, but submit your answers on the assignment page right there. Okay, you don't have to attach anything, just put it right there, okay, on the page. And that's your assignment for today. All right. I hope you understood this. If you didn't quite get it all, rewatch it, work through the problems, and if you still are having trouble with the math, then go ahead and email me, and we'll do a private Zoom. Okay? All right. Bye-bye. Have a good day.